Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing? I have been going all day, and I took a nap. Well, I don't even know if I would call it a nap. I just fell asleep. And I woke up right as Alex was going to sleep, even though he's basically just like been in bed all day long watching TV with the dogs, while watching movies. He watched 4 movies today. He's like so into these Marvel movies. So he watched like something Civil War, something Ant King or something. I don't know. He was telling me about them, but I didn't understand any of them. But he was watching all of these like Marvel movies. I got here. So here was my day. I got up today, and what did I do? What did I first do when I got up today? Okay, so I got up and I uploaded the vlog, and then today has been a reading day for me. And I read a little bit on the front porch, and then I had my individual counseling session, which I went to, which was really good. We talked about all kinds of different stuff. It didn't get real deep, but it was a good session nonetheless. And then I left there, and I went to Tanya's kennel, and I hung out with Tanya for a little bit. And like an hour, actually, and just kind of hung out there and talked to her, and her husband was there, and that was fun. And then I went and filmed my rant video in the parking lot of Home Depot because it was on the way out. And what else did I do? That was about it. And then I came home, and I was going to film a booktube video and a Peterismus video today, and I wanted to film them outside because Alex was upstairs and he was watching movies, and like he had the day off, and I just didn't want to bother him, and so I didn't want to like set up the lights and have him have to put on headphones and stuff. So I was going to film him outside. Well, it was like really dark outside, and it looked like it was going to pour down rain, and it was kind of sprinkling. And so by that point I just was like, you know what, I just won't make videos for those channels today. Let Alex just kind of relax and do his thing. And so he never really gets a day to just completely hang out and not do anything. So yeah, so I didn't film videos for those other 2 channels. And then what did we do? By that point it was like, oh, and then I sat outside while I was uploading those videos, or uploading that video, the rant video, and I read, because I have like 5 books I want to finish for this month. And I read for a while, and then I went to Half Price Books and looked around forever, and I bought a book, and it's called Stillwater Lake. It looks really, really good. It's about a woman whose husband is in prison for he's a serial killer. It was in the young adult section, but it doesn't look like a young adult book. And then she ends up getting having to have a fake name and protect her kids, and then all this, somebody starts anonymously sending her trying to scare her or something. It looks good. I've never heard of it before. I think it's called Stillwater Lake. And then I came home and I watched Alex wanted Taco Bell, so I brought us Taco Bell home today for dinner. So we had a really healthy dinner tonight. And which was interesting because he wanted the Mexican pizza meal, and so I got all this stuff and I brought it home. I basically get 7-layer burrito and a burrito and a bean burrito. That's what I eat at Taco Bell. So anyway, and a Diet Pepsi. So I brought it home, and I get home, and it's our Taco Bell is 10 minutes from us, and the Mexican pizza wasn't in it. And at this point, I've now been going for the entire day, and I'm really tired. Has this ever happened to you? And it's ugh. I was okay, I just put my food in the microwave. I said to keep it warm. I'm gonna go not on in the microwave, just to clarify, just to let it sit in there. And I said I'm gonna go, and he's you don't have to do that. And I go, yeah, it's what you ordered. I'm not gonna you know, pay for something and then not get it, and then you not even get your meal that you want. So I went back to Taco Bell, and I mean to tell you, like, when I was, like, driving over there, have you ever done this? Like, I scripted it in my head, like, what I was gonna say. But then when I got there, I just was like, this is just not that deep to get angry about. Like, this is how I've really changed in, like, the last 5 years. Like, and working on, like, this person is tailing me so close. Especially on, like, this, like, tight ramp. I just used to, back in the day, allow anger to really kind of, like, rule me. I wouldn't necessarily always act out in anger, but, like, I could get really angry about stupid shit, you know? And so I was in my head on the way over there. You know, I was ready to cuss somebody out and blah, 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 over a Mexican pizza. And I got there, and the line to the thing was to go, this person doesn't even know what they're doing. This is like, look at this. A minivan going like 80. So the line to the drive-thru was like way too long, and so I just like parked and went inside, and the guy was like, can I help you? And I was like, yeah. I was like, and I was real nice about the whole thing, and I was like, I didn't get a Mexican pizza, and I ordered it on my meal, and he was like, oh my god, we just threw that out. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And it just was it was like evidence that there's no reason to get mad in situations like that. People make mistakes. It's just not that big of a deal, you know? I went home, gave Alex his Mexican pizza, and everything was right with the world. Like, back in the day, I used to get so, like, I don't know, like, I feel, especially, like, reading social media and stuff, like, Twitter is, like, interesting because people will get all up in arms about just, like, the pettiest stuff. Like, stuff that isn't even that important, you know? But they just get so upset about stuff, and I'm like, it's just not that deep, you know what I mean? And I think that's really, like, where my life is today versus where I used to, like, I don't talk a lot about this, but years ago, I mean, I had Tanya and I and our group of people that we're friends with in sobriety, I mean, we had a completely different group. We don't really have a group today. It's kind of just Tanya and I, but, like, we had a group of, like, 6 or 7 people that we hung out with and did stuff with, and there were a few, like, really, like, toxic, negative people in that group. And, I mean, Tanya and I were talking about that the other day. Our lives are so, like, de-stressed and calm and peaceful. And, I mean, it's kind of lonely sometimes because it's just the two of us, but, like, the trade-off is we don't have that toxicity in our lives anymore. I just don't even know that I really have the capacity for it, you know? Like, my ex was very much, like, into the drama and the gossip in friendship group. You know what I mean? Like we could sit there and be like, and I'd be like, yeah, and she said this, and he'd be like, oh, really? Like, oh, she better watch what she says, and, you know, like that. Like, that was he and I, and we almost kind of fed off each other a little bit. But, like, Alex isn't like that at all, and so when I got with Alex, like, that part of me just kind of went away. And I don't know, and, like, you know, with these friends of mine that I've had, that some of them have gone back out and started using again, and some of them have moved, and, you know, like, I just don't have that negativity and that toxicity in my life, and my life is, like, it can be a little boring at times, sure, but it's, like, so peaceful and calm, and I just don't have that anymore, you know, and it's really, really nice, honestly, to not have that, and, I don't miss it. I don't miss that, like, revved up anger, you know? And also, when I look back on it, what I realized, like, okay, you know, I talk a lot about my old job. Today, because I did this rant video about romantic comedies, I mean, it was kind of silly, but I was like, I wanted to link at the end of it, like, another rant video, and so I was, like, going through my rant videos, like, trying to see which one I wanted to link, and so I linked the workplace rant video, which, like, if you've never seen it, I have to say, I'm kind of proud of that video. Like, there's a lot of truth in that video, you know? But, like, when I was watching it back today, I was like, I got so revved up just watching it. And to the point of like, that's kind of how I felt like every day working there. Like, I didn't realize like how healthy it was for me to completely leave that environment. Like, it just was a really toxic environment, you know? And I didn't even see it at the time until, like, I knew that I was angry a lot and stuff, but I don't know, I guess I thought that's kind of like how it was when you worked places, you know, that there's always kind of some drama going on and coffee pot chatter and all that kind of stuff. But then later when I left, and I just didn't have that in my life at all, like I remember a year, like I used to go over to Tanya's every day after work towards the end, and I would be like, either I'm crazy or they're crazy, and she'd be like, you're not crazy, they are. And she had kind of like, you know, indirectly worked with them. She knew them because she had sponsored like a lot of girls that had gone through our program. And she, as a sponsor, like, had to deal with a lot of BS from people that worked there. Like, she'd come and pick somebody up to take them to a meeting, and they would just give her, like, were just rude and disrespectful. And, so, you know, like a year after that, I'm like sitting there talking to Tanya one day, and I was like, you know what's so weird is I didn't even realize it till right now. Like, I haven't had any of those feelings for like the last year. Like, I haven't had any of those, like, self-doubt feelings, like, am I crazy? And she's like, because it was never you to begin with, it was always them, you know? And she's like, you're just, Peter, you're not the person that can keep up with those politics. And I'm not. Like, I just am not. I'm very naive. I'm very, like, here's who I am. If you love it, you know, or leave it. Like, I just, you know, that's who I am. And I'm just, I don't play those games well, you know? So it's good that I'm out of that environment, but I kind of forgot about all of that until I was watching this video today of mine that I talked about everything on there. That's probably like, you know, a lot of my rants are obviously hyped up. You know, like when I'm ranting about romantic comedies, do I really get that? No. I mean, it's part comedy. It truly is, you know? Like, that, I don't really get that hyped about things. But that workplace rant was like really how I felt about things. I mean, it really was. And, you know, what's interesting is that when I left there, within like 3 to 5 years after I left, everybody that I worked with, except for one girl who I found out today, because when I was at Tanya's kennel, this woman came in to get her dog from day boarding, and Tanya was like, oh, she works at so-and-so, which is where I used to work. And I was like, oh, really? I worked there for 13 years. And she's like, and she kind of like sized me up. She was like, oh, really? What did you used to do there? And I said, I was a counselor. I was a residential counselor. And she's like, oh, really? She's like, well, I'm a PHP counselor, just partial hospitalization program. And I was talking to her, and I was like, oh, yeah. And like, she's like, well, is there anybody there that you still know? And I was like, this person who like was there before I got started. There's like a lot of people that are still there, but I said, and this person who I hired and trained, and I had just seen her at a funeral 3 months ago, and she was over the entire adolescent unit now, and my supervisor had gotten demoted. And I said, oh yeah, I know her, and she's over the adolescent unit. She goes, she's not over just the adolescent unit, she's over all inpatient services. I said, are you fucking kidding me? Like, seriously. She is Susie of very little skills. I mean, that's who they put over the entire inpatient services. I was baffled. I could not believe it. But, you know, I mean, I guess now too, like, she was there like probably 2 years before I left. So, I mean, who knows? She's got 12 years experience now. She's a completely different person probably, you know? Probably a completely different counselor. And she's got 10 years experience plus, so. And she was trained by the best. So, no, she was really nice. She just wasn't an addict, and she didn't have any experience with addiction. And I personally, even though I worked with some people that had never had any addiction in their families, were very good at what they did, I personally feel that people with personal experience, whether family members or themselves, with addiction should be in those positions. I really do. That's how I feel about it, and I won't change my mind probably ever. So, which is why back in the day when I used to refer to residential programs like out of state, I would always refer to programs that were set up by people that were in recovery or, you know, like knew a lot about addiction, because I think that's important. But, whatever. just don't go there. Like, I just don't get angry the way that I used to. Back in the day, man, I could get hyped up about all kinds of stuff, you know? And I think that's the part of me that comes from my mom, where my dad would say, you know, like, your mom doesn't know how to pick her battles. Like, and she didn't. My mom had no clue how to pick her battles. Like, she could get very, very upset over everything, you know? And, I'm gonna have to get an oil change tomorrow. My oil change required thing just came on. It's probably time for one. But I will say this, that change oil soon light has been on for a week, so that's me, last minute Harry. But she felt very much like driven about the things that she believed. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it wasn't like the things that she picked as battles, like, she didn't think were important to her. Like, she really, really believed in them. And so, like, I'm trying to think of something that she got really upset. Like, just in our neighborhood, you know, the neighborhood that I live in now, like, she just didn't trust a lot of her neighbors. You know, she would say, well, there are people, and it wasn't like paranoid. It wasn't like that at all, because it's been things that, like, I've experienced. Somebody said in my vlog today, I thought it was actually kind of a cute suggestion, but they're like, you should walk around your neighborhood and show your neighborhood. The reason I won't do that is that, you know, I live in an older neighborhood, and it's a gated community, and I like, you know, I want to protect those people that live in my neighborhood, and they're always outside, they're always walking and things like that. I don't know how they would feel about that. So, but, like, you know, she would have issues with people that would, like, say things to her. I mean, I joke about this, but this is a true story. Like, you know, like, Marlene, who is in charge of our neighborhood, like, her granddaughter lives next door to us, you know. She was the one that was, like, by our pool that one day, and Alex and I are down there. I mean, this is fact. Like, this really happened. Alex and I are at the pool, and my mother did not like her, not one bit. And she was, like, sitting there talking to, like, another woman, and there were other people at the pool, and it was, like, silent. Like, you could hear she's so loud, you could hear every word that she said. And she was like, over there's Peter Monn. His mother was a bipolar manic depressive. And Alex is, like, laying out. He's, like, laying down. He's, like, laughing his ass off, which is so interesting to me, because my mother was never diagnosed with bipolar or manic depression. So how she even knew that was crazy, but I've kind of guessed it about my mom herself. So, and then she was like, yeah, two nice homosexuals I've never met. Oh, two of the nicest homosexuals I've ever met. And Alex just started losing his shit laughing. It was so funny. And she's real nice. She can't hear to save her life. So whenever I talk, unless you're looking right at her and you talk to her, she can't hear you. But, like, I've learned with her, like, if you just acknowledge what she's saying and, like, you, like, validate her, like, she's really nice. And she cares a lot about the neighborhood, you know? My mom and her would go rounds with it. And my mom would call me up and be like, I just don't even want to go to the pool anymore. And I'd be like, why not? She'd be like, well, that Marlene is always up there, and she's always trying to talk to me, and she's always trying to say things about what I need to do to the house, or what I need to do. I'd be like, Mom, it's just not that deep, let it go. She's 30 years older than you. And she'd be like, oh, I just blah, 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 whatever. And then she'd say, you know, people act so nice to your face, but then you hear behind their back, and they're always talking about your back. That is a true story. My mom would talk about people of the lie. She'd say, don't trust a lot of people. People treat you one way to your face and completely different way behind your back. And that has been proven to me many times over in this world. I was reading this billboard. It says, caught you looking. Join our team, Tractor Supply. Okay. And Martina McBride, she's coming, I guess, it says over here. And Randy Bachman, I don't know who that is. Oh my God, gas is is it $2.99? $334, what's that for, diesel? Diesel. $339 exempt trucks. $2.99 for gas. God, $2.99. You know, summer starts this upcoming week, and it's interesting to me because I'm listening to this, I'll Be Gone in the Dark for my book club, which, are you guys loving it? Oh my God, it is so terrifying, isn't it? What time am I at on here? 20 minutes. It is so terrifying, isn't it? And I think what's terrifying about it is it's like, it reminds me a lot of Helter Skelter, actually, and not just because it's a true crime novel, but it's the way that it's told feels different than a lot of other true crime novels. A lot of true crime novels try to be very flowery with their words and use adjectives and all that kind of stuff. I don't love that in a true crime novel. Helter Skelter is literally the facts, and I will never forget that opening part when the maid walks into whatever Cielo Drive, where that murders took place. And it's just fact. And it feels like you're walking along with her as she walks into the house. That's very much how this feels. Like, she doesn't flower it up. She doesn't, make it this beautiful piece of fiction. Like, she literally posts the facts. It's almost like you're there, in it. It's so creepy the way that she does it. And this is almost creepier than Helter Skelter because she, it's literally story after story after story after story after story. And I don't know, it's interesting, this last year for me, I was just talking on here the other day about the whole paranormal thing and this going to the Baumeister Mansion, how that kind of really messed with me and changed my perspective on the victims and things like that, right? Okay, well, what was so interesting was literally 2 days later, and she had not watched my vlog, 2 days later, the woman that sets up all of these paranormal investigations, which are mostly haunted houses, haunted libraries, haunted mansions, things like that. She contacted me literally out of the blue, and she was like, we had so much fun doing the investigation with you and your two friends. Would love to do another one. Are you interested? And I said, oh my God. And Melissa and I had just been talking about it. And it happened the day of Melissa's birthday. I got the message from her on Facebook, and I was like, oh my God. I said, we would, love to do another one. What are some that you're doing? And she sent me 6 in the area. There were 3 in Indiana, 2 in Ohio, and 1 in Illinois. And she was like, these are all ones that I think you would enjoy. And most of them were well, none of them were any kind of serial killer thing. They're all just haunted houses. And so anyway, and she said 2 of them were led by psychic mediums. So we might do that. We talked about it. They're cheap. They're $20 to do. But then I've been reading all this stuff about serial killers, and it's interesting about the more you read about serial killers, the more you kind of realize themes, if that makes sense. If you've read a lot or watched a lot of movies about serial killers or whatever, there's a lot of times themes that you don't necessarily see if you're just talking about one. And one of the things that's interesting to me is that a lot of serial killers strike in the summer, in this late spring and summer, and Son of Sam and the Golden State Killer was mostly in the summer, late spring, early summer, and then he attacked again in November, and a lot of these were always in the summer, when it was really, really hot outside. And a consistent theme you'll hear is that people were afraid to leave their windows open at night, but it would be so hot that they wouldn't, they want to open their windows. You hear that a lot in these stories, right? And I'm this is so weird. The way that my life works, honestly, is there's always, this is gonna sound so weirdo psychic, and I don't mean it that way, but it's almost preemptive that I'll be talking about something or interested in it, and then boom, it happens or it's there, and I'm are we gonna have a serial killer in Indiana this summer? been so interested. It's almost like, you know, I don't know, it's just weird how the world works like that. I don't want a serial killer in Indiana, no thank you, no ma'am, I don't want to see innocent people killed. I don't think that that's funny. I don't think that that's nice. But this, like, I don't know when schools get out now. I don't think schools get out any later than like the 5th or the 6th, but one of the things that's interesting is that this would be well, for me, growing up, this would have been my last week of school, because we always were out before Memorial Day, and this is Memorial Day weekend, which in Indianapolis is a huge weekend. Like, this upcoming weekend is huge because of the Indianapolis 500, and it's called Race Day weekend here, and I mean, nobody works like Thursday, Friday leading up to Race Day weekend. I mean, Indianapolis is crazy here. It's like, imagine 4th of July, but not. Like, that's what this weekend will be like. And it's like every summer activity in the world, whether it be like, you know, fishing or pools open this weekend. Like, that's a big deal here too, is that pools open this weekend. Like city pools. It started with city pools open this weekend, but like every pool, like I think our condo pool opens this weekend. So thank God, because it's been about 100 degrees. Well, not really, but like in the 80s every day for like the last, like 2 weeks. I love this weather, you guys. I am so much happier when it's like this outside. Oh my God, I love it. Alex and I still have not ordered our patio furniture yet. We need to sit down and we need to order our damn patio furniture like ASAP. And I'm gonna do that. Well, tomorrow night we can't. I'm gonna maybe look through some tomorrow and see what he thinks. He was wanting to do this restoration hardware. He found some that was like, I don't know, last sale kind of thing, but that kind of scares me a little bit. But anyway, we'll see. It was really nice. I'm excited to sit outside though and read. Like, that's one of the things I really want to do this summer, is just sit outside and read and drink lemonade. I love me some Crystal Light lemonade. Pink lemonade's our favorite. In the summer, we always have that. It's expensive though. And if you buy the Walmart kind, it does not taste as good. I don't care what anybody says, it just really doesn't. Like the generic kind, it doesn't taste as good. Gotta buy the real Crystal Light. 5 calories, I think it is. But I'm so excited about summer, and it's like so humid. It's 68 degrees here right now, and it's 1:29 a.m. and it's 68 degrees, and it's muggy as hell outside. And it's been in the 80s every day for the last 2 weeks, and it's been so nice. I just hope it like doesn't, like June doesn't start and then like it drops down to like in the 70s. That's what I really hope doesn't happen. Because I really want to be able to enjoy, you know, the weather of this summer and all of that stuff. So do you guys read billboards? I constantly am reading billboards. The Indiana countryside is so pretty. It's like it just is like, you can't really see it, but it's kind of like rolling low hills and just huge trees everywhere, and like little patches of like woods right here and stuff like that. It's so pretty. And then there'll be like a little like you know, exit with like one gas station, one small little gas station that you stop at in the middle of the night and get you a little Coke or something. It feels kind of really scary. Okay, this is at 29 minutes and 45 seconds, so I'm going to stop it for a few and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. I'm like way out in the country, and it's like kind of spooky, honestly. There's like, I don't know what that building was, but it was like some like warehouse building. Over here, it's like railroad crossing. Look at this. What would you guys do if somebody was just like all of a sudden standing in the did you guys ever tell ghost stories when you were kids? I was never good at making up ghost stories, and I never knew any ghost stories. But I sure would get scared listening to them. Make s'mores and sit around and tell ghost stories eating s'mores. I love s'mores, but they are messy as hell, aren't they? I always liked my marshmallows like really like burned with all the ash on it. I don't know why, but I did. S'mores are kind of like a better idea than they are like in reality, I think. They really are. It's so funny when I think about like summer foods, you know, it's like back in the day when I was growing up, oh my god, do you know those like long like popsicle things that you like freeze and they're super cheap? Like my sister-in-law had like 100 of them in the freezer for the kids the other day. I was like, that cracks me up so much. We used to eat those, like that was what my mom would call ice cream. She'd be like, do you guys want ice cream? And it was totally not ice cream at all. My mom also would have like those, she would say, do you want juice? And it was like those juices, like those, it was flavored water that would come in those little tubs. I've talked about it on here before with like the metal on the top of it, and you would just like peel back the metal. And I remember when like Capri Suns came out, and my mom would be, I'd always want them, and she'd be like, no, those are a waste of money. My mom also thought like cereal was a waste of money. Like she'd always want generic cereal, which there to me is honestly a difference in the taste between regular and generic cereal. And the other thing that I would always want is those, you know, those little boxes of cereal that come like 8 in a pack, you know, and they're little boxes. Okay, I've told you before, like I've always been obsessed with things that are like have little things in them, like little boxes of cereal, little books. I love little books. And so I would always want those little boxes of cereal, which is so funny because like not until years later, I mean honest to God, like years later, did I learn that just like reading the side of them one day that they are meant to honestly be like cut open and that you're supposed to like eat them as a bowl. Did you guys know that? Like you just pour the milk right into it. I did not know that. So I always wanted those little boxes, and my mom said they were a waste of money, and she's like, there's always like 3 in there that you'll never eat, like the wheat ones and the healthy ones, and she's like, those are a waste of money, we don't need those. So but food that we always had in the summer, like my mom was always making tuna salad with like, she would cut those little like jerkin sweet pickles up and put them in there, and then her tuna salad was so good. I haven't eaten meat in forever, and I can tell you right now, like the last time that I was a vegetarian that I started eating meat again, like there were certain things that I could not eat again, like chicken salad and tuna salad. Like I tried chicken salad a couple times, and it just was so gamey that I just like instantly thought of like animal. I couldn't do it. I just could not do it. And tuna salad's been something that's kind of been lost on me forever since the last time I was a vegetarian. Like I just can't do it. And but my mom would always make tuna salad, and we would always have hot dogs in the summer. What else would she make a lot of? She would do like taco night, where she would like set out all the fixings for tacos. I never liked it. I hated that. And I hated like when like friends of mine would invite me over for dinner, and they would get so excited, and they'd be like, my mom's making tacos tonight. I hate homemade tacos. I think they taste like shit. I think Taco Bell is cheap. I think the tacos at Taco Bell are 100% better. I know that they're like not realistic, but I don't even care. What else did we have a lot of at home in the summer at my mom's house? A lot of just like sandwiches and soup was like big. My mom always did breakfast for dinner, which people call like Brenner, but she never called it Brenner. But where she would make like pancakes or waffles. So my mom had a waffle press like when I was growing up, and like nobody, like a lot of people have them now, but back then nobody had them that I knew. And she would always make homemade waffles. I mean, they weren't like, you know, Eggo waffles. They were like homemade, you know, in the press. And they were so much fun. She made but she would make a lot of sandwiches. Like she would get like that Mrs. Knorr's, it's like Knorrs soup, like the chicken noodle soup, and then it had like a golden egg. Do you guys remember? And I would always ask her if I could drop the golden egg in there that had like the seasoning in it. And then she would make like that, and we would have tuna fish salad sandwiches, or we would have like turkey sandwiches, and she would like put out everything for like to have like, you can make your turkey sandwich as big as you wanted and put like lettuce and stuff. But like in the summers, a lot of times my mom always had friends that stayed with us. It seemed like we had a lot of friends like stay with us in the summer. My mom's sorority sisters would like come back to Indiana and visit, and they would bring their kids, and so they would stay with us for 3 or 4 days. My mom's friend Susie would stay with us for like a week every summer when she came back from Colorado. You know, my mom's friend Diane from Beaver Island would come down, and when she came down, she would stay for like 2 weeks. But that didn't happen until I was older. But she had a lot of friends that would come and visit and stay with us in the summer and bring their kids. And so we would just like, that's what we would do. And they would always like, you know, make sandwiches or get a pizza. If my mom said get a pizza, that meant a tombstone or something like that. Like, I remember like, she would always be like, do you want to get a pizza? And that meant like a store-bought pizza. And then years later, I was like at a friend's house, and he was like, we're getting pizza tonight. And they got like 3 Pizza Hut pizzas. And I was like, what is this? Like for us, we get like a Domino's pizza, not a Domino's, what were the names? That like Tombstone was it back in the day, kind of. God, I can still taste it in my mouth. That like greasy Tombstone pizza tasted like cardboard. Frozen pizzas have come a long way, haven't they? I still, like, my favorite are those Totino's. Is it Totino's? Those Tony's or Totino's, those dollar pizzas. I love those. I love those all day long. I haven't eaten any of that stuff in a really long time. One lone little white house out in the middle of nowhere. See, this is where I always imagine like serial killer stuff taking place. I always get book ideas like when I'm riding around out here. But we used to sit like late at night, like after dinner, all of us kids would like go out on the street and play. Like it seemed like everybody just kind of congregated back outside after we would eat. We all kind of went inside and ate at the same time. I wonder if that was like decided by our parents, but we would all be back outside like an hour later, and we'd be on the street. You know, like all day long we've been playing baseball and been in the woods making forts and stuff like that. And then at night we would just kind of walk the streets. I remember we would always like, do you remember like, I don't know if people still do this, but that scared the hell out of me. It was like semi right behind me on this like lone road, and it reminded me of that candy cane from that movie Joyride. But do you remember like people used to keep like soda pop, we call it pop here in Indiana, in their garage. And so like parents would just be like, yeah, just, and like they would leave their, like this was back in the day before like teenagers garage hopped. Do you know what garage hopping is? It's like where kids go into garages and steal shit. It was before that, like nobody did it back in the day, and everybody would just leave their garage door open. Everybody. My mom was honestly like one of the only houses I ever knew that nobody entered through the garage. Like everybody that I know is always like entered through the garage. Like at my mom and at my dad's house, both houses, like we always went through the front door. Like the garage was never open. But most of my friends and neighbors, like their garage door was always open, and like you would go in through the garage side door. That's how you get into the house. but there'd always be like, you know, 2 cases of pop next to the fridge and then a bunch of pop in the fridge. And so we would just, you know, go into somebody's house that, like, if we were with my friend, you know, Brian or whatever, we go into Brian's house and eat, like, all of us get like pops there while he, you know, and then we would like go back out in the street and walk up the street. We thought we were so cool, you know, and talk and like tell ghost stories, and there'd be like 3 of us, and then we'd like meet up with 2 other people, then we'd like sit down in somebody's yard, and God, it was so fun. Do you remember that? There was this one woman on our neighborhood, and her son was like, she had a son and daughter, but like her daughter was like a lot younger, and so her son was like part of our group, and she legit had like a cowbell that she would ring outside, like it was hanging off her back door. And so when it was time for him to come in, she would like ring that bell, and we all knew that we had like a half an hour more than he did. And I can remember when that bell would ring at night, like we all knew like it was time to go in, and then we would go inside and, you know, take a shower, take a bath. I never took showers growing up. I always took baths. Took a bath, and then, like, you know, put our pajamas on, and then I would read or lay on my mom's floor. I was just thinking about this last night. Like, my mom watched movies literally every night. Like, every night. And if she had friends visiting from out of town, like, they would always, like, be sitting there, like on the front porch, like drinking beer or something, like, you know, like talking and smoking cigarettes, or they'd be like watching a movie together or something, you know, like. And so I would go in there, like if their kids were there too, we'd go in there and like lay down on the floor. And I remember we used to always have like box fans all over the house because it was so hot. My mom would, like, after like 6 o'clock in the evening, my mom would turn the air conditioning off. Do you guys remember that? Like, people wouldn't like just leave their air set at a certain like temperature. Like, they would legit like just turn their they would turn the air conditioning off. And I mean, now we know you just keep it at a certain, you know, temperature. But back then, my mom would like turn the air off. And so from like 6 p.m. to, let me just show you this church. This church always scares the hell out of me. I don't know why. And then let me just show you me turning around, okay? This creeps me out so bad right here. Because you turn around and then look. And it's right into this like field. Look at that. So, like, she would turn the air off. I don't know, like, why people used to do that back in the day. They don't do it anymore. But she would turn the air off, and then, what am I even trying to say? So she would open all the windows, and, which I guess kind of goes back to this whole thing of, like, the 70s and the 80s and these serial killers, like, having the windows open. But, like, she would open all the windows, and then, it would, like, that, I can remember that feeling of the air just, like, coming through the windows, like, that cool chill. And then with, like, the box fans, like, she would have one in her room, and then there'd be, like, one in the hallway, the fan, sitting at the end of the hallway, like, blowing air down towards us. And then I always had one in my bedroom. And, you know, if there was somebody staying over, they had one in their bedroom. But I can just remember, like, those box fans everywhere, those white box fans. And, I can remember, like, bringing a pillow in. I was thinking about this tonight. For some reason, I was thinking about sleeping, like, on my mom's floor. I don't know what made me think about that. And I, like, would bring the pillow in, and I would, like, fall asleep on her floor. And a lot of times, like, she would just let me sleep in there. She wouldn't, like, you know, wake me up or anything. And I can remember, like, I would wake up the next morning, and it would be so hot, and I'd be, like, sweaty from, like, you know, the air not on yet. And that would be like the first thing that she would do in the morning, is she would like close the windows and turn on the air for another day of summer, you know. It was interesting, like, one of the things that's interesting about reading these serial killer books sometimes is that, like, they'll talk about, like, hearing sounds, like, on the street, like, at 4 a.m. neighbors said they heard ... you know. And what's interesting to me about that is that we always had our windows open. I mean, from like March, when it started getting cool or warm, to like November. Like, my mom loved having the windows open in like early fall, and the smell of fall and stuff like that. And you would hear stuff, like, and the weird thing is that, like, voices like Carrie, like not like the song, but voices carry. Remember that song? But anyway, but voices do carry, and like when people would be like on the street, and like I can remember laying there on my mom's floor, and she would like turn the TV down because and I can remember she would like sometimes, like, this is so funny. I can remember her like kind of creeping over to the window and kind of like standing, because like the whole room would be, you know, pitch black. She'd have all the lights turned off except for like whatever she was watching on TV. And then she would kind of creep over in the window and she could hear the conversation, but like I could hear the conversation too, just like laying on the floor. I don't know how I remember that, but like, it's weird now, like when I think about that in retrospect and having read like books like The Woman in the Window and stuff like that. One of the things that's interesting is like I'm sitting here like I'm thinking to myself, like there were some times that my mom was really, really scared living there. Like some really scary things happened, and I don't, for the life of me, really remember what they were. Like I don't know if she kept them from me, but I don't know. I mean, she just. And she wasn't just a scared person. My mom was like, up till that point, still pretty confident. She kind of like lost some of that confidence as she got older. And I think part of it was like one of the things that for her that was really scary was when her like eyesight at night started going. Like she was really night blind. And so it was really hard for her to drive at night and see. She didn't like it at all. It made her feel very uncomfortable. And so she almost never drove at night. Or if she drove, she would take like all side roads. She would never take like even just like a highway, you know? She did like this, she would never have liked. But anyway, I don't know what happened, like, but I can remember it. I kind of vaguely remember somebody like getting, like the police being called, somebody on our street, and like my mom being really freaked by it. I don't know, I don't remember. And she's not around to ask, so. That's one of the weird things as I've gotten older is like, and my mom is gone and my aunt is gone. It's like, who do you ask those stories to? You know, it's like, it was really weird when I was talking to my mom and my aunt's friend that lives in our neighborhood, and we were talking about like my grandma going to prison and stuff, because she knew that because she had gone to high school with them. And we were sitting there talking about it, you know, and there was something that was really nice about the conversation. I mean, I love this woman. She's very nice. But there was something that was calming about it. And, like, I hadn't, like, had that outlet to have that conversation about my own history other than in my vlog, which I love. I need something to drink. Excuse me. I love getting on here and talking about that, you know, stuff, because my cousin Caroline doesn't really like talking about it, and Alex doesn't know anything about it, and so I don't really have anybody to talk to about it. Tanya and I talk about stuff like that with our families, but it's not the same, you know? So to talk to somebody else that kind of knows my family history, my dad just could care less about he could care less about his own family history. He used to care more back in the day. I think it's just, you know, you probably reached an age where it's just not that interesting to you anymore, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Still interesting to me. It's like so muggy outside, you can almost kind of see it in the air. It's almost kind of hazy. I love that. I've like the last couple of summers wanted to sleep outside like one night. Alex is like, go ahead, you'll get eaten alive by insects. I'm like, no, I won't. He's like, yeah, you'll get eaten alive by insects. I'm like, psh, I want to sleep outside. Look at this little gas station right here. This is what I'm talking about. There is Indiana for you, okay? Little gas station closed in the middle of the night. See, go in there and get your little pop. Gas, $3.15. Can't believe it's so expensive. I think I'm going to get off here and listen to some more of my audiobook. I think I have like 3 hours left, which is pretty good. go listen to that. The live discussion will be this Sunday at 4 p.m. where we talk about I'll Be Gone in the Dark, and it will be on my YouNow. So I need to go put that on the Goodreads thing too and talk about it in a BookTube video. So I will be back tomorrow. Are you guys ready for summer? List the things that you guys are excited about this summer, or the things that you miss about summer growing up as a kid. Put them in the comment section below. I'm gonna get really excited about summer this year and read summer books and watch summer movies and stuff. All right, you guys, I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.